Welcome to the Fighter Share Report. Happy Father's Day to the Badger.
Yes, sir, brother. Happy Father's Day to you as well, man. Right back at you.
Look, when I saw that video, I was like, it says a lot about what we're going through today. So I had to kind of jump on that. Look, beyond that, how's your Father's Day been?
Man, for me, bro, I had the bar set pretty low. So I had a couple of issues come up today, but I'm here, man. I'm here for my therapy, man. So it's all good.
Look, I think we're both here for the therapy. And we got a special show. We got a pretty special show planned for everybody. So, we hope you guys enjoy it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We should have done this on the unscripted show because of the guests we have, but it's gonna be a good show. And as you guys can see, I have a picture of Alex Haley's house behind me. A lot of people, if you don't remember, Alex Haley wrote Roots, and he was inspired sitting right there on that porch when he would hear the older folks talk and get those stories. As a matter of fact, when you walk in there, there's one of the rooms when the door closes, there's a picture of Chicken George, the real Chicken George there. Look, happy Juneteenth, happy Father's Day. Well, we're going to get this started. How, Badger? We're going to talk about some results from the UFC and then bring our special guest on. Can you hear me, bro? Badger, can you hear me? I can't hear you, man.
Hello.
I can hear you. Maybe it was my system.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. So we're going to jump right into this and talk about last night on my grind. We got two. We got a top ranked fight that happened from 11 until sometime in the morning. We got the UFC, which occupied the airwaves from 6 until I'm gonna say it was about 11 o'clock, right? A little after 11 when it went on.
Yeah, it was tough for me. I was having a hard time. I was struggling.
Yeah, I was struggling too, brother. I was struggling. But hey, we'll cover it the best way we can. What about the very first fight of the evening?
Can you refresh my memory and tell me which one that was? Because I think I tuned in right as it was starting, but my memory is so jogged from last night. I was so tired, bro.
Okay. It was Austin Hubbard versus Max Roskopf.
Okay, I think I missed that one.
Okay, yeah. That's the one where Max was asking for his corner to throw in the towel. He asked 5 times during the round, and they refused. So when the round was over, bro, I can't hear you. Is your mic off?
Yeah, my mic is on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
I don't know what's going on in the system, but wait. So let me get this straight. So back up. So the fighter in the middle of the fight,
yes,
asked his corner
to throw in the towel
to stop the fight
5 times.
5 times,
and they refused.
And they said no.
Right. So when he got back and when the round was over, he got back to his stool, he quit. And he told the commission that he asked his corner to throw the towel and they wouldn't do it.
I need to see this in person.
Yes.
I need to see this in person.
Yes. Please.
Yeah.
It was one of it was the first one, the preliminary. So I'll send you the name. You can look it up.
Yeah, he'll probably never fight anywhere else ever again.
Well, Dana talked about it, and as much as Dana wanted to ridicule the kid, he couldn't. He said because it's tough when you get to that level, and to ridicule somebody, right? You could not have done that interview at all. There's no way you could have done that interview because you're laughing now.
Man, listen, what?
Right.
He could have faked injury. Like, you really went out. Wow.
Sonny Liston faked a shoulder injury.
All right. Well, go ahead, and we'll never know. But go ahead. What was the next one? I definitely missed that one.
That was the biggest one. But your boy Curtis Razor Blades.
Listen, I want to talk about that. First of all, before we begin to talk about how good Curtis, fought last night for the first 3.5 rounds, we're going to talk about the end of the fight, the post-fight interview. The last time I seen a man that tight after a fight, I think was Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000. And we still talk about that to this day.
And they had heart attacks.
Bro, what was going on with Kurt Blades last night, man? That was crazy.
Curtis said, I need to work on my conditioning. No, really? Really, bro?
Bro, I mean, his eyes, he was in agony, man. His eyes were closed, mouth full of blood. He ain't even looking at the camera. Like, I'm mad that well, not Joe, what's your guy name that was doing interviews last night?
Oh,
I can't remember his name to save my life. Dang it. He shouldn't have did that interview. He knew, listen, he should have cut that short. After everything after congratulations, Curtis, that should have been it. I mean,
listen,
Curtis was doing bad, man.
If you guys go back and watch the fight, watch that last fight. Before he went to Curtis, you could hear Curtis. I was like, oh, Lord, please don't ask him a question. They asked him a question. Curtis did this face. This is how you knew he was tired.
Bro, at one point he stopped looking at the camera, he just tilted his head back. I'm like, boy, Curtis tired, boy.
Yeah, Curtis tired, bro. Curtis said, what y'all want from a brother? What you really want from a brother?
No, what we want him is to show up in shape, Curtis, okay? Because you almost gave that fight away. So, literally. I mean, yeah, great 3.5 rounds, but that last round and a half, man, boy.
Listen,
you was flirting with Lady Luck on that one.
If Volkov had anything to him, he should have won that fight, bro. He should have won that fight.
Yeah, because Curtis, we talked about the fight earlier in the week on the beatdown on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We were talking about that fight, and I said, man, Curtis done let me down. Curtis was looking real good for a while there. He got into a little bit of a slump. He let me down. He ain't been looking as good. And I was about to go take Curtis out the pasture last night, man. I was really ready to do that. Listen, and he pulled it out, man. He pulled it off.
Listen, the last fight I really wanted to touch on was that Josh Emmett, Shane Burgos fight.
Ooh.
That deserved an audience.
It did.
That deserved. And what I don't understand is Shane would have been fine if he could have just defended a left hand.
Yeah, when Emmett decided he was going to switch and go southpaw, he messed him up.
Yeah,
he really messed him up.
That left hand, it was, but he kept coming back though. He kept coming.
Burgos is one tough cat boy because he took some shots. Emmett's known for putting guys out, so kudos to him for standing there and taking that beating.
They took some good shots.
They did.
They really did. Man, so any of the other fights stand out to you?
Yeah, man, my boy from 2 weeks ago that destroyed Brock Weaver, the kid from Miami, from California by way of Miami. The tall, slim kid fighting at what, 45?
Oh man,
I can't call his name right now. Ran up in there with the old vet and got armbarred in the first round.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. That I was like, come on, bro. I had told my mom, I said, Mom, this young kid is pretty good. He's on the street. Roosevelt Roberts. There you go. I said, he's been on the winning streak. I said, but he just fought like 2 weeks ago. So this is a quick flip for him. But I saw it was at a catch weight. So I was like, okay, well, that may be advantageous for him. I don't know. He's fighting an older guy. All the signs are pointing in his favor. And went right out there in less than 2 minutes in the fight, got an armbar.
And could have gotten out of the armbar or held it, but he decided to try to hammer fist dude.
Yeah.
And that just gave him all the leverage he needed.
Yeah. And he gave a verbal tap.
No. But the brother, a verbal tap.
A verbal tap. Yeah, he had to say it.
I was like, bro, you couldn't have just tapped out quietly?
No.
Hey!
No, I need somebody to hear this before he snapped my elbow.
Yeah. That was hilarious, bro.
Yeah.
There was one, and I almost forgot about it. Watch out for this one. This was a good one. Bilal Muhammad.
Oh, Muhammad against
Lyman Good.
Lyman Good. Yeah, man. That was a good fight.
Yeah.
Lyman Good was closing strong, but I think Muhammad had packed too many rounds in a little early. But listen, for Lyman Good being a primary striker and seeming to have limited, I guess, skill, because I didn't really see him do much. But listen, when he finally caught the Muhammad, what was that, round 2 going into round 3 with that right hand? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a bloodbath too.
Take it. I really
he did. Muhammad held on.
He did. It was a good
Mama's a pretty decent fighter. He's gotta do more with his hands as far as his defense goes, but he has good lateral movement, good footwork. But he definitely has to keep them hands up because Lyman good. If he could have got loose on him a couple more times, that'd have been it.
For those of you who wonder who I'm talking to, we're social distancing, and this is my distraction. This is
that's
your hands so people can see your face.
That's a blessing. That's not a distraction. That's a blessing, brother.
It is a blessing. Oh, she sees her pop up in the waiting room. Oh Lord! All right, go out with mommy. Hello, Papa. That's Uncle. That's the Badger. Say hi, Badger. Hi, Badger. No, go. Don't give out government names on here. No.
Oh man, she's awesome, bro.
Yes, she's awesome. Pop up's down there. Yes. Hey, it's Father's Day. That's all I can say.
Guess the cat's out the bag.
Yeah. Yeah, that cat came out the bag a while ago.
Yeah.
And got some claws. Listen, you want to talk about the boxing match real quick?
I was out. I had tapped. So I know Navarrete won.
Yes.
It's time for Navarrete to step it up and get some competition. But what's that, 30?
Well, he came up to 126.
26. He's at 26. Yeah. Okay. It's a couple guys there. I
think he's the belt holder at 20. Or is it 18 or 20? It's 20, I think.
I don't know. I totally tapped out on that one. I feel bad. I missed that one. But I know he won, so it's time for him to get in there with some real competition.
It is. It was good though. It was. I recorded that one because I knew I just couldn't make it.
Okay.
I made it to that fight and I started dozing. I hit record and went to bed.
There you go. Smart man.
I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet because I had a full day for me today, but we know he won. And the other fights were pretty decent. It was a dude with green hair fighting. Yeah, it was interesting. In Mexico City with no fans.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. All right, bro. Let's anything else before we get to our guest and our topic for this evening?
No, man, let's do it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I am bringing on a I don't know if he really needs any introduction. He's a man I admire, and he's the last man on this planet that I ever feared. Listening to his story, you'll understand that he's actually been to hell and back, and through all, he's a good dad. So we're bringing him on to kind of talk about the story of Black fathers and how society has viewed them and how it may have changed the home that they came up in and the home that they led. For those of you who have never met this gentleman, and this might not be a good idea bringing you on because are you still wanted for anything?
Nah.
Okay.
Get all the taken.
Now what? And I like it. They asked for your screen name. He put Dad.
That's right.
But I can tell you, he's one of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet.
That he is.
He really is.
That he is.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wanna. You didn't give me any guidelines as to what I could and couldn't ask you.
I thought about that afterwards.
You thought about that afterwards? Listen, all three of us had different upbringings. I do want to ask you though, since you have led two households, coming out of yours, I know you shared with me, and I'm not delving deep into it. You can go as far as you want to go. You dealt with an abusive household, and you're the oldest of four. How much do you feel that society and what your dad had to deal with outside of the home played into how you all were treated inside the home?
I feel it affected the household a lot because racism and everything he had to deal with just to provide for us. And he had to go in business for himself. That made it worse in the beginning to provide for a family and to get work. He's a master carpenter. He received his skills in the Brooklyn Carpentry Union with nothing but Sicilians. He was forced to speak Sicilian, listen to the Sicilian operas while he's at work, everything. In that sense, I say he's a very strong man to put up with that, to get his skills together, to provide for his family, and create a lifestyle for himself.
We're talking the 1940s, right?
Yes. Actually, early 40s, late 30s.
Badger, I'm not trying to take over this whole interview. So
no, listen, I'm just soaking it all in. I actually got lost in his words for a minute there, so I'm just listening. When I have something, I'll chime in.
So I'm sorry, Dad. Go ahead and continue.
And it overflowed into his household because the whole situation back then was basically violent. You know, he's not the only one, but there was a lot of guys took that violence home and took it out on their family. And they dealt with it or they separated, whichever was convenient for everybody. To everybody's physical and mental health. Because that type of stuff does bother everybody, indirectly or directly. The person that initiates it and received it from the outside and bring it home, you always bring that kind of stuff home no matter what. No matter how strong you are, you have to ventilate. And if you don't have the proper ventilation, you end up drinking and whatever else that comes with it.
So as a young black kid, and this was Jersey, correct?
Yes, East Orange, New Jersey.
Okay. What outlets did you have, like, to tell somebody what was going on?
None. As kids, we were told to suck it up as well. Keep it moving. Wow. And as far as schools and stuff like that, there was none for us. There's nobody we could talk to.
You said something interesting. You said you said on the outset that the stuff that he went through to provide for the family.
Yes.
So even in all the stuff that you took and dealt with, you still saw him as a provider.
He was the breadwinner of the house. Nobody else worked. Women weren't allowed to work then. Especially women of color. Unless they wanted to be a maid or something like that. And too many of the women of color in our family had educations and could not stoop to being a maid.
I got a question for you, Pops. Based on, your experiences growing up and having your father in your life, did you see any parallels between what he faced versus what you faced when you got ready to start your own family?
Some, not as much as he did, and it actually affected my family. I didn't know how to deal with it. I couldn't ventilate with it. So I did what I could and tried to be the best parent I could and provider. But with my health issues, mental health issues, I didn't provide or take care of my family like I thought I should have, or as well as I should
have. I don't know if I've ever told you, but you are a pretty great dad.
Well, thank you.
When I found out what you had gone through, and And now that I have a child, you used a lot of restraint. I mean, when you did beat me, I understood. But I look back on it, there's a lot more times you could have spanked me and you did and you didn't. So it's interesting. That was one of my questions. And receiving the discipline that you did receive and understanding what Black males face out in the world, how did you temper that and come to a certain style or amount of discipline that you dished out to me? I'll speak with me specifically because I know times changed before my brother came along.
Yes, really changed. That cliche, spare the rod, spoil a child. I didn't believe in that because when you're dealing with an intelligent child, you have to deal that way with them. And spanking and beatings is a sidetrack. It creates other emotions where they can't think clear. You can't think clear because of the anger you're bringing out on them, which you shouldn't. You know, you're an intelligent child. You understood and have full conversations at the age of 2.5. So why is there a reason for anyone to take a child with that intelligence, spank them into submission to what you want them to understand? Wrong answer. Talk to them. And the times you got a spanking, you really deserve it. It hurt me just as much as I do.
I don't know about all that. I'm just saying.
As you just said, just many times you should have got more than what you did.
But when you gave them to me, you made up for them times you missed.
Because I didn't want to do that again. I was trying to get you to understand. I don't like doing this. I shouldn't have to do it. And I don't want to do it again.
You know, if you had just told me that, we could have skipped a whole lot of pain.
I did.
Badger.
You just looked at me like,
told me that,
really?
He told me that when Morgan came along. That's when he told me.
I did not. We had this when you were a child. That's when you started to believe me and talk to me, and you got less spankings.
I still remember. I remember one time he spanked me because my mom told him, "Spank me." He didn't feel like it. He had gotten in from work. He just wanted to have his day. She said, "You better beat him." He tried to talk to me and not do it, and he left me in my room. And I know when he went downstairs, I heard her say, "Did you do it?" He was like, Jiminy Crammy.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Sounds familiar. Sounds very familiar to how I grew up.
See, I was coming to you next because we all had different rearings. And you tell me if you feel comfortable answering this question. You had your dad in the home. How did that affect you versus some of the friends? And then again, did most of your friends have their dads in the home as well?
Believe it or not, man, yeah. Okay. My circle of friends all had their dads, as a matter of fact. Not many people know this, but my dad was my second coach. I played 1 year youth league football, and the next year the coach quit. So my dad and my childhood best friend and his cousin's dad, his brother-in-law, decided to coach our team. And we had the only all-black team in the county.
Wow.
And we actually went to the PWU football state championship back-to-back years. So
wow.
Yeah, so my dad was actually my second coach, man. He really taught me the bare basics of football at an early age because, you know, let him tell he was All-American when he was in high school, and that wasn't the case.
But at the time, though, we all think our dads at that point should have been playing in the NFL and in the Hall of Fame. It's just something about that dad. Like, we were watching, UFC the other night, and of course my daughter sat up and realized there was a fight on, so she was engaged. And she's like, Daddy, why don't you just go over there and beat them? And, I had to tell the truth and say, well, I would, but, with the world being sick and COVID-19, I just don't want to leave you in the house.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, Badger, during because we start, as they say down south, I didn't hear this till I got down here. We start smelling ourselves around 12, 13, 14. How did having your dad around play a part in you navigating those years successfully?
My parents had me when they were mature adults. So it's kind of like how your pop said times had changed when Alex came along, right? He was a different man. He had grown differently from when you first came along. So a lot of my issues were the same. I was the baby. I was the last one. And there's a big gap between my brother and my sister and myself. So when I came along, my dad, first of all, said he was the only one I really wanted. He said the rest of them just happened. But at that time, my dad had he had advanced in his professional life from picking fruit and working odd jobs in the South to working at a local community college. So by this time, he was a white collar worker, and my mother had gotten her RN's license when I was 3. So I kind of grew up with a white collar household, so to speak. But when I started coming of age, it was a migration from being a mama's boy to my dad's becoming my best friend. So even in issues where there was some contention between us, it was always understood, implied, verbally and non-verbally, that he was the man in this household. Now, I do remember once I got I think I was about 15 or 16, I was really trying to, had to start lifting little weights and stuff. And he had told me to do something. And I don't remember what it was, but whatever my response was, he didn't like. So he came to my room, he just laid into me, right? He was just going on. And I was like, I kind of ignored it, like, okay, I'm gonna let the old man talk, he gonna leave. So he said his speech and all was forgotten, right? So I thought. What I didn't know is my brother was coming home that same weekend. So apparently my dad did what most smart men do, right? Why get my hands dirty when I got the field hands to do it for me? So at this time, my brother had just finished playing 4 years of college football. He was still training for the Arena League. So this was like around 93, 94. This was arena football was a thing. And my brother was benching 450 pounds. He was running a 4.3. He was still in college football shape. And I was outside washing the car when he pulled up. And he got out the car and said, what's going on, man? I was like, nothing, I'm washing the car. He was like, yeah, so Daddy told me to talk to you the other day. And I was like, yeah, man, you know what he said? And before I could get out the last syllable of the words, I caught 2 in the chest. Boom, boom. And when I caught my breath, tears started welling from my eyes. And I couldn't understand, like, what happened? And he said, I'm the new executioner in town. When the king tells me something, it's enforced. And from that moment on, I didn't have any more problems with talking back or even taking criticism, whether I wanted to or not, from my dad. So, yeah, by that time, he had kind of passed the physical torch, but it was still understood very clear.
Listen, it's amazing you say that. And I'll give a shout out to Adam Clark Valet. That's he said shout out happy Father's Day to Uncle Kenny and to myself. But they put your government name out there.
Yeah, they do. It's okay.
Just so you know, I didn't put it out there. I just wanted because I know you were trying to read it. So happy Father's Day, Adam. And happy Father's Day to Van Newman. Pop said, thank you, Adam. Wow. I had come up to visit one summer, and my brother and I had a buddy come up with me, and we were staying with Dad for the weekend. And my brother decided, now mind you, he was, I think, 13. So he was grown. So he decided, I'm 12 years older than him, that he was going to show me and put me in my place. This was 1997. So, dear Dad, sat there on the couch and watched everything unfold. Just watched it.
That's right.
I'm tagging him in his stomach. Open hand. I'm not trying to close my fist. I'm using the, soft open hand. So I shot in on him a couple times, double leg, took him down, and he was trying his best to kick me in my knee, bust my knee. Well, obviously, if you turn it a certain way, that's not going to happen. But he didn't realize that. So he was getting so frustrated, he just started shaking and started to cry. He was just shaking. So that's when Dad decided, okay, before somebody has an aneurysm or gets hurt, let me try to pull the older one outside and talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at him like, why'd you let it go so far? Look at his cheeks. He can't hide a smirk. He was trying to hide the smirk while he talked to me. He couldn't. But I understand because he has a younger brother. I guess these are just things we go through. Unfortunately, your younger brother, you didn't have a younger brother. You had, the boy.
Yeah. I know, right? Yeah.
The boy caught your wrath.
Yeah.
I can tell you, and I'll make it quick. My transition period was kind of rough because Dad was in Maryland. I was in Tampa. My grandfather was right there at hand. I could call him or I could go up and talk to him. But I didn't realize how major that generational gap was. Like, my grandfather was very polished. Now, he can get grimy, but he was sort of polished. And I didn't know how to approach him. Like, I could talk to my dad and say, well, so-and-so is doing this. How should I deal with it? I remember the first time I actually let my guard down and talked to my grandfather. And I was, telling him about somebody and I was like, I don't want to, because my grandmother would say in a heartbeat, well, Dr. King said, turn the other cheek. So I'm thinking my grandfather was the same thing. So I was telling my grandfather about this boy, and he's like, what's the problem? You haven't hit him in the mouth yet? And I was like, I could do that? I mean, because I'm looking to this male guy and I could do that. He was like, yeah. He said, just don't do too much damage. 3 or 4 strikes and you're good. I'm like, I got 3 to 4. But, it took me a while to get past that barrier of a grandfather. Or a lot of my friends were like you, Anwar, they could actually just they could talk to their dad. And their dad would, could talk to them on that level. They felt comfortable talking to their dad. My grandfather did a wonderful job of standing in the gap. And I'm really thankful that my dad and I were able to get back together and form a bond when I got to be around, my 16, 17 years, because I felt I was headed down a real deep rabbit hole that I wouldn't have been here where I am now had I had tried to navigate that thing by myself. And the blessing for me was I had my grandfather and I had my dad to talk to at that point. But I can understand how so many of our youth who don't have that get lost. Just completely get lost.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you bring up because I was reading a book. Oh no, I was actually watching something. I'm sorry. And it said that 1 in every 9 or 1 in every 14 black men or 1 in every 9 black men will commit a felony. But the more profound statistic to that is that it happens between the age of 17 and 32. And I asked you about that the other day, Brew, when you and I were talking, and that is so pivotal because those are the years that you begin to build a family.
Yes.
And if I've already tied your shoes together before you hit young adulthood and you have a criminal record, now even when let's say you make it and you're able to get out of prison, you only do maybe a couple of year bid or whatnot. Now I've handicapped you economically.
Yes.
So even in your pursuit of starting a family, you're not behind the 8 ball because the woman that you're pursuing and the family that you want to create, you technically can't really provide for because you've been hit out the blocks. So, I mean, I thought that was a very telling statistic, but I want to ask your pop something else.
Before you go on, when you did that time frame, you know what else is very pivotal? The life expectancy for us during that time frame is always less than a year. I'm sorry, go ahead. When you said that, I remember, because when I turned 17, I looked that up and I realized that my life expectancy until I turned really age 35 is only a year every year.
Wow, that's crazy. So Pops, I'm born and raised in the South, and I know that you all are a little bit north of the Mason-Dixon line. A lot of people often get it confused that they feel like that the amount of racism or discrimination that Black folks faced in the North was altogether different what happened in the South. I know that not to be true because I can read and I can comprehend. But being raised in the North, can you speak on what racism looked like for you coming up as a child in, I'm assuming, New Jersey or wherever you were?
It was mostly undercover. They can hate you and smile in your face at the same time, especially the Italian. They were sneakier than anybody else but their race. The Polish population, they were outward about it, very bold, and a lot of other ones. And at that time, Hispanics were racial against Blacks. If they'd have known then what it's going to be like now, they would have made a unity back then. But I remember a time I went to go visit a friend, and I must have been little Spain, little Puerto Rico, whatever. Well, I was the only non-Spanish person there. I could not get across the street. They turned me around and told me I had to leave. Not politely either. No. They had the baseball bats, had sticks, bottles, weapons. It was no problem. When I saw that, I was anticipating something. So I let them say what they had to say without me coming any further in the middle of the street. I turned around and walked away politely. When I got out of sight, I ran like hell. All the way back to the bus stop, downtown Newark. And stood right there on the corner, waiting for my bus to come, which was around the corner. But I wanted to see if they were going to kept following me and was going to be any more trouble. Fortunately, there wasn't.
It's amazing you say that, because when I met you up in New York, you and Uncle Stephen, when Pop-Up passed.
Right.
And you and I were walking up Broadway, and we got around 106, 107th, and that was Spanish Harlem.
Right.
And
that's where it started at.
Yeah. But I remember you were like, keep walking, because there was a couple of, I don't know what nationality they were. But one of them saw me and said, Grande Negro. And that's when you were like, keep walking. Don't get me wrong, y'all. He could have cleaned the block, but he was trying to teach me a lesson when he said, keep walking. Because you were telling me that that's how they would prove themselves. They would find the biggest, blackest guy they could find and just start something with him. That kind of lends itself to the racial aspect, the racism that we're talking about. I guess you say the racial stereotyping. I know when I lived in Hernando County, Brooksville, Spring Hill, between that area out in the woods, that's where my grandfather, for some reason, decided to build a house. He bought it sight unseen. And it was like the Emancipation Proclamation hadn't even been signed to those people. But you know what? Somebody took a liking to us, and we were okay because Mr. Padgett took a liking to us. But without running a rabbit on this one, it was the same attitude there. It was like white kids it was like when they wanted to prove themselves, they would fight a black kid. And it was disturbing to watch growing up, especially since in third grade, I was like, everybody on the bus decided they wanted to prove themselves that year. And guess who the only black kid was on the bus? So, again, I racked up referrals. They never did. So it was like going through it, and it made no sense. I mean, and I understand that racism itself makes no sense, but we seem to have been the victim of it. And if you look at our age groups, we got 3 different generations on this show for the most part. And it doesn't make sense how it continues to perpetuate itself. Something is fueling this machine, because even a fire will burn out every now and then. But she seems to keep going. Thank you, Samantha Clark, for the happy Father's Day to all of us.
Yeah, I agree. There is something that's fueling it, but I've just been kind of, looking around. I'm reading different things here and there, and I think what the undercurrent is that's feeding this whole thing is racism has completely delved into something more systematic. Whereas when, back in the day, you would have those outward moments of racism, right? The voter discrimination, Jim Crow, mass incarceration in the 70s, 80s. There was always something that you could point to say, look, this is what's happening to our people, even redlining into the 90s. What we're seeing now is something that's much more covert. And you have to scratch the surface to see what's going on. So I think that's what racism and supremacy has turned into almost 100% now. Because on face value, with the exception of these moments where we catch with camera phones, a lot of stuff that goes on, you really have to understand what you're looking at to see it. And I think that's where some of our calls becomes a little muddied, because then your calls becomes a lot of people's calls, right? As you see other movements latch on to the Black Lives Matter or whatever the movement is, or your cause is not heard loud enough because it's more of a policy. It's more of something that's implied rather than something that's broadcast. So that's just kind of my take on it.
My take on racism is financial. From the time this country was built, racism started so people could make money. Today, it's more elaborate because they're trying to hide the money that they started with this racism. Everybody makes money in racism, but the people that are being raced against. Think about it. Now you have all this type of survival gear. Look at the tags on it. Made in America, but by Klans members or extremist right groups. That's it. They're making money off of us because we need that for survival as well, and they're getting richer. All the top-notch survival gear in the world is coming from separatism groups where, I don't like these people, so I'll sell them my stuff to get rich and I can move out. I can get away. At the same time, I create my own private army, a stash of weapons, so I can protect me and my family.
You're right.
Other than it's been that way since this country started.
Well,
when the Europeans came here and started with the original North Americans. Yeah. They learned the land and got rid of them. And they've been doing that ever since they left the prisons of Europe and the ghettos and came to America. And every other country that they landed in coming, South America, Cuba, Caribbeans, right on up into America. And it hasn't stopped. We all felt their wraths in all those countries.
Yeah.
They got to be the Americans.
Well, racism itself is fueled by fear. Everything you're talking about, as far as the survivalists, the people who join the Ku Klux Klan, the people who join the neo-Nazis, the people who join the militias, they've all adopted that spirit of fear. They've all been taught that fear. You have to arm yourself because you can't trust them. You know, they're all savages. They don't like you. These are things that they were raised. And how do I know? Most of the people I went to elementary school with, junior high school with, high school with, that's how they were raised. That's why so many guys I was friends with in the second grade, they wanted to, behind my back, they wanted to fight me in high school. Not that I've done anything to them, but their mind finally was they clicked. They felt right into that. And
but they were bred.
Right. And if it wasn't for that fear, we'd have still been friends. Fear of something different. Fear is something you can't control. So here's how you control it. I don't want to get off this topic that we got on, but I want to bring it around to, and if you don't mind, Badger, I'll start with you. How did your environment, seeing, even though you're from you have a tight-knit group, we've talked, we all saw racism growing up, and then your experience in college and in the workforce, when you had children, how did that shape your rearing of them?
Well, your natural instinct is to protect your children. So it was always about awareness from a very early beginning, just making children aware. And it usually happened after they had their first experience. It wasn't something I pushed on them. I waited for the world to show them, right? And it doesn't take long for it to happen. It usually happens in elementary school fairly early. And when it did, I met it head on. It wasn't something I tried to side talk or act like, was an outlier. I didn't know, hey, this is going to happen to you more frequently, and here's why it's happening to you. And then the conversations became easier to have because now they knew that, okay, either my dad knows where this is coming from or he's experienced it firsthand. So that just makes the conversations for the future a lot easier. But yeah, just making my kids aware. I don't want them caught in the blind or feeling like, the world is all rose colored. No, the world is real and it's going to show you it's real. And my job is to prepare you for that as much as possible.
All right. I'll go and then I'm gonna send it to you, Dad. I know for me, when you said protection, that hit the nail right on the head. It's made me have to be stronger than I thought I could be. I never considered myself weak, but it made me, I had to be strong outwardly because I want my daughter to know that no matter what, Daddy's got you. It made me look down the road further to see what possibly could happen to her. Like, fortunately, things have worked out in school. There was a little boy that pushed her. I found out after she had already bitten him. So I didn't have to go to school and deal with this little boy because when I see how children are treated differently. Now, fortunately, my grandparents are in the school system. My wife's in the school system. I have a lot of friends in the school system, both in the classroom and in administration. And we're treated differently. You may have 1 out of 10 principals who administer justice the same way, or assistant principals or deans, whatever your school has. But for the most part, we're looked at and viewed differently. So when she bit this little boy who had pushed her the day before and then pushed her that day and got in front of her in line and to play with this toy, and that was the breaking point. You're not going to cut her off from playing with a toy. So she dealt with him. So then they wanted to call my wife in to tell my wife that she was, out of line doing this and doing that. So my wife said, but you didn't call his parents when he pushed her. And she told you when he pushed her and you didn't deal with it. So the next day when he pushed her again, she dealt with it. Now there's a fine line. As my wife always tells my daughter, go talk to the teacher. Tell the teacher first before you do something. Me, I'm like, do something. And then we'll explain what happened afterwards. Now, her way is the right way in that environment. But my parenting has been adjusted because I know certain kids are going to get away with things. And I don't want my daughter to take a bunch of stuff and end up getting hurt trying to play by their rules that weren't made for her. Dad?
I agree. Guys, excuse my fidgeting. The bugs decide to come out. And they're starting to take their toll on me.
Well,
but
you're old, so they figure they'll just stay around and wait for the whole feast.
It ain't gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I'm here till 125.
You keep saying that.
I got a good shot at it.
You got insurance?
Who needs that? Yeah.
I need to make sure I get
some on the policy.
But I know why I know why you don't have insurance, because you want to stay around to 125. You firm believer that the more insurance you have, the easier it is for somebody to push you out in the street.
Exactly.
That's not me. I love you.
Right. I love you too. That's why I don't have insurance.
See what I got to deal with? Deal with. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It looks like the whole show. I don't see you. And my man's camera is stopped. Got his hand in midair. I'm the only one moving out here.
That's your
Why?
phone. That's your phone. We see you perfectly well, and we're moving. We can see ourselves moving.
Okay.
That's all right. It's your connection.
Father's Day, I should have got a better phone.
Huh?
Well, Father's Day, I should get a good phone.
You should.
But maybe it's better than never.
Well played, Pops. Well played.
Charles Moore said, "Happy Father's Day." Hey, Charles, he needs a new phone. Crystal Albertson, happy Father's Day. Man, my government name. And happy Juneteenth. That's the first one. Peace to you and your family. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal's cool.
Ask me the question again. I lost. Just got sidetracked.
How did the racism in society affect or shape your parenting?
I had to kind of make sure. Only thing that the racism in society and all that affect my parenting towards you is to make sure you can get a good education, and your mom 100%. I had to stand behind her so you can get your education, so you wouldn't have to go through it. The sly remarks, be on a job where you somebody walk past you and they doing stuff like that. It affected me in the 70s when I worked for Amtrak. I was told no N-word should ever have a job a white man has. And I was told a white man built a railroad. That's a lie. Chinese and black slaves did. And I was one of the few people that can go with Cecil County, person of color, they can hang out with masses of these supposed to be prejudiced, racist people and be the only black person there. And never got out of trouble.
You were a different breed of cat, though. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. You were that guy that most rappers say they are. You were. Oh man,
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
It's a compliment because I never worried about anything when I was with you. Ever.
As well as you didn't have.
Until I became an adult and understood the ramifications. But I never, as a child, you always had that protective hovering. Now, the funny thing was, Badger, he liked to see me get into skirmishes. But no matter what happened in the skirmish, all the dudes around there would never jump in, even if it was their children. He just wanted me to toughen up. I understood that when I got older.
Did it work?
Yeah, because it takes a tough dude living in this household. She ain't gonna let no punk stay around. So you were getting me ready for my wife, and I appreciate that.
Oh no, I wasn't getting ready for Yolanda. Don't put me in there.
Listen,
don't put me in there.
Listen, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So you
say.
My wife is a G.
I know she is. That's why I don't get me in there.
Listen, Dad, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
You guys having me, and it made my day. And any other time you think I might add, please feel free to ask.
Man, I definitely appreciate having you on, Pops, man. It was good to hear absorb some of that brain food you're giving out, man. I definitely appreciate it. I can always take some of that.
It's good to be able to speak to you while waiting till next October to see you.
Indeed.
We're hoping.
Yeah, well, if I have to drive down this year, I will.
You know what's funny? Was it about a month or two ago? Florida wouldn't let people from New York come in, and now New York won't let people from Florida. Hey, but it's a good thing we opened up the beaches. Good thing we opened up the beaches.
That's why New York don't want y'all up there.
Exactly. They're like, we had to deal with this. No, y'all keep your sunshine down there. We're good. All right, Pops, man. Thank you so much. I love you. I will definitely be in touch, and thank you so much again for it. It took a lot, man, because you've been through a lot, you've dealt with a lot, and I'm glad you trusted me in this interview, that I wasn't trying to put you out there, that I was really trying to get your experience out so other people could learn like I did from what you went through.
That's no problem, son. I have anything to help. You know that.
All right. Well,
anything.
The Badger said he needs about $1,500. Huh?
Long as we're teaching something to someone else learns.
Well, the Badger said he needs about $1,500 from you.
Yeah. I'll lend it to him. You got it.
No, pause. Don't listen to that guy, man.
Did you hear his answer? Did you hear his answer?
Yeah, I heard him.
Hot dog.
I'm gonna need the info for the revolution. That's what I'm gonna need. You can keep the 1,500. I need something more important than that.
We're working on that.
You see?
Can I say one other thing as you mentioned revolution? I think every black person in America should legally carry.
Indeed, Pops. Indeed.
You said legally, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No throwaways, because a throwaway is going to get you thrown away for years. Legally. Whatever it takes to legally carry it. Do not get caught illegal, because that's what they want. That's one less person they have to deal with. They get paid for controlling the rest of your life.
Well made.
Yeah, that's game now.
Well made. All right. Well, we're gonna close out the show. Badger, man, thank you for agreeing to this. Is there anything you want to, any wisdom you want to impart?
Man, I'm just learning day by day, bro. I'm a sponge.
That explains a lot.
Oh.
You gotta relax, bro. You gotta chill. I thought we was above that today. You gotta chill, man.
I don't know where you got that from, Badger. You didn't get that from me.
It's all right. We'll talk later.
All right.
Listen, I was gonna give you all a story today, but I'm not even gonna give you a story.
Good.
You all right with that, Badger?
I am perfectly okay with that.
Oh, wait a minute. I do have a story. I don't know. Have I told the one about my little brother and my dad and I walking one day and seeing the dogs in the field?
Yes, you did. We do not need to hear that one again.
Okay. You lucky. You're lucky. I was sure gonna tell it.
And we do not need to know what they was doing. We are good on that. Yes, we heard that one before.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And that was recently as well.
Yeah, it was. Okay. I'm gonna tell this one.
Really?
Yes, I'm gonna tell this one. My cousin Jimmy was messing with this woman. This was a while ago. Was messing with this woman, and they were together, and they had a child. But the child had a stuttering problem, and Jimmy was like, "I don't understand. As this kid has gotten older, this kid has developed a worse and worse stuttering problem." And he said, "Your mama don't have a stuttering problem, and I don't have a stuttering problem. Where'd you get the stuttering problem from?" I don't no, Dad, I don't know. So little boy is like now feeling self-conscious about his speech. So he was looking at people around the neighborhood to see if anybody had a stuttering problem like him. Nobody that he saw had a stuttering problem like him. One day he just happened to be out as the mailman came by, and the mailman said, "Good morning." So the little boy said, "Hey, you have a stuttering problem like me." The mailman said, "Shut up."
The mailman, the milkman. We got to cut this out in our community. This is going to be a bit much. You got to let that go. You got to let that go.
I'm sorry. And I'm not making fun of people with stuttering problems. So please don't start DMing me talking about. No, I'm not making fun of people with stuttering problems. It just happened. Yeah, really? And you know why he made it into the Spanish neighborhood? Look at him. Doesn't he look like an old Cuban guy, Badger?
I'm not getting into this.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Fighter Shed Nation, I want to give a shout out to my pops for coming on here. Dad, I love you.
Love you too, y'all.
Want to give a happy Father's Day to my brother, Alex. And all the people that I may not have called out by name, real fathers who put in that time, put in that work. God bless you. Thank you. I've already wished my brother over here a happy Father's Day. He deserves it because Taryn puts him to work. Bro, turning it over to you.
Thanks again for showing up today, Pops, and happy Father's Day to you. Blessings. Happy Father's Day to you, bro. You my bro. And you know, we put in this work every day, 365. So, you know, for me, it's just a day to get praised for what you should be doing. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Make sure y'all check us out every Wednesday and Sunday, the Fighter Share Report, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Beatdown every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 11 p.m. And for everybody that tuned in, we appreciate your Fighter Share Nation. We out here. Peace.
Peace.